You know what's strange? Some of the most perceptive and emotionally intelligent people you'll ever meet didn't develop those abilities through classrooms, through books, or years of practice. They developed those abilities because at a certain point in their life, they believed that they had to. Their nervous system wasn't trained by choice, but by circumstances that required them to read rooms, predict moods, and think several steps ahead just to feel safe. There's a term for this going around psychology circles right now, and it's called traumatic intelligence. And if you've never heard it before, that's exactly why this video matters. Here's the premise. Trauma just doesn't wound people. And in a lot of cases, it actually sharpens people. Research in developmental psychology suggests kids who grow up in unpredictable or emotionally complex environments often develop a heightened sensitivity to social cues, emotional patterns, and body language. Their brains, specifically the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, get wired early to catch signals most people miss. What's left is a kind of intelligence that looks invisible from the outside, but runs incredibly deep underneath. I'm gonna walk you through 7 signs of it. Then I'm gonna show you what's quietly costing you that nobody's talking about. And by the end, I'm handing you 2 things I personally use to manage all of it, so you're no longer being controlled anymore. This is what few people know, which is why you never hear anything about this. Every single one of these traits has 2 sides, just like everything else in life. That's how our physical and spiritual reality works. Everything is duality, light and dark, ebb and flow, 2 sides of the same coin. You don't get one side without the other. That's impossible. And when you forget that, or aren't even aware of this, usually this is where your peace of mind ends and where your suffering starts. So let's go through them and let's see how many of these you are. Here's the first one. You read the room the second you walk into it. You notice tension in someone's body. You get a glimpse of a person's true colors before they put their mask back on. You can see someone else's sadness almost as if they're holding a sign saying, "I'm not happy." You might think this is intuition, partly so, but really, that's acute pattern recognition that your brain built early on in your life. Because at some point reading the room, noticing when your mom or dad were happy or upset kept you on point. It kept you safe. The light side, you're hardly ever caught off guard, nor blindsided in the room. The dark side, you're never actually switched off. You're always turned on. Even in a room that's completely safe, some deeper part of you is still scanning. Second one, you're deeply attuned to what other people need, sometimes before they know it themselves. Psychologists, they call it hyper-empathy, and it usually shows up in people who had to track a caregiver's mood closely growing up. You learn to feel other people because your environment required it. The light side, this is probably why a lot of people throughout your life, and even till this day, they always come up to you with their problems and their challenges and their issues. The dark side, you can take on and carry other people's energy way long after they left and lose the line between your feelings and theirs. Third, you get calm and strategic exactly when everything else falls apart. Researchers call part of this stress inoculation. If high stakes situations were the normal growing up, your brain got calibrated for them. I've actually got a name for this in my own life, and I call it zombie mode. What's funny is I've never told a single soul ever about zombie mode until now. Simply put, another part of you takes over and you stop thinking. You just move, you execute. I tap into this zombie mode consistently, especially when I'm training jiu-jitsu, so on the mats, or even when I'm running, and especially when I'm making these videos, when I'm getting super locked in. The light side of this, you thrive under pressure. Most people fear and fold under. The dark side, sometimes I'm so locked into that mode while pursuing a goal, cleaning the house or even doing my laundry, I can become emotionless and go cold to the people right in front of me without even realizing it. The people I love most have actually gotten the short end of that more than once. Here's the fourth one. You think about why people do what they do automatically. You replay conversations, you study human behavior obsessively because understanding psychology keeps you on guard and keeps you safe. The light side, you can see straight through manipulation most others fall for. The dark side, now this is where it gets tricky because sometimes it stops being about trying to understand someone and starts being about needing to be right. I knew it. I knew that's why they were acting like that. That's the ego, not the gift. This shows up directly in my coaching and in my relationships. My clients come to me wanting me to assist them with their challenges and their problems. But knowing when to empathize and when to coach is one of the most important skills I've had to develop. In relationships, knowing when to empathize and when to offer support or advice, the exact same thing. I've had people tell me straight out, Rob, I don't want to be coached right now. I want my friend, Rob. So as you can see, it's the same trait, just two totally different uses. Here's the fifth trait. You're deeply self-reliant and you'd probably rather die than be rescued. When the environment wasn't dependable, your brain learned that competence was safer than dependence. The light side to this, you build solutions and get shit done that blows other people's minds. The dark side to this, sometimes people who'd actually show up for you, they don't ever get the chance because some part of you decided a long time ago that asking for help wasn't safe and probably even weak. Numero 6, you feel things deeply than most other people around you. Music hits different, injustice, it stirs your gut. Others' unspoken words penetrate your brain. The amygdala, the part of your brain that processes emotional intensity, tends to be more sensitive in people who've had a lot of emotional activation over the years. The light side to this, you experience the world at a depth not many other people can comprehend. The dark side, that same wiring can tip into overwhelm and a system shut down quick. And the seventh, trust doesn't come easy for you. Your filter is tighter than most people's. You might mistake this for cynicism, but psychologists call this adaptive skepticism. Your brain learned early that not every single signal of safety was real. The light side, once someone earns your trust, that bond is nearly unbreakable. The dark side, sometimes the qualifying process is so rigid and so tight, even the safe people can't even get through. If all or even some of these landed for you, this is actually what I want you to take away from this video. None of these are negative traits. Every single one of them is a tool. The problem was never having them. The problem is you not knowing that you have them and not knowing how to use them. Back around 2011, I went through what's called a spiritual awakening. If you've been through something like this, you know exactly what I mean. Everything got HD. The music hit differently. I could feel people. I'd pick up on what someone was thinking before they even said it. I still do actually till this day. The downloads and the insights that would arrive fully formed, those were intense. It felt like someone plugged a USB drive into my brain and everything was downloaded at once. I remember learning something at that time frame that totally changed how I related to all of it. It's the idea that you can command the volume. You don't have to receive everything at full blast just because it's available to you. You can turn it down when you need peace and turn it right back up when you're ready for it. Now, here's the part that matters, whether the spiritual language lands for you or not. What I was actually doing in nervous system terms was learning to self-regulate my level of intensity on purpose instead of by default. Now, that's a real trainable skill. I've been doing this for the past 15 years, and I learned how to do it literally in 5 minutes. It's the same mechanism underneath everything we just went through. Hypervigilance, hyperempathy, emotional intensity. None of that is fixed. It's a dial. So that's the first thing I'll give you, the dial. I started practicing this in meditation. I'd connect with the quiet part of myself, my higher self, and just ask, hey, yo, this is kind of a lot right now. It's kind of intense. Let's turn it down a notch. Not off, just down. Over time, it became less of a ritual and more of a habit, much like a command. Turn it up when I want the full signal, turn it back down to 50% or even 85%, whatever that moment needs. This shows up constantly in my coaching. When someone's being vulnerable with me, I can see everything happening underneath. What actually happened, what they're avoiding, where their thinking is looping. But most people, they don't want to be picked apart while they're being vulnerable. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be understood. So I turn down the dial on the analysis and turn the volume up on presence. That's the whole skill, knowing which one the moment is actually asking for. Same thing happens to me at social gatherings. I'll walk into a room and before I've even said hello to anyone, I've already clocked the dynamics. Who's comfortable, who's faking their swag, and who's actually having a good time. And if I don't manage that, I end up kind of showing up a little bit weird and distant and end up working the room instead of being present in it. So I consciously turn the dial down. I tell myself, not right now. I don't need the full read tonight. I just want to be here with my people. And I actually get to enjoy the whole social session instead of coaching it in my own head. The second thing that I use is a little bit more simpler, and it's basically what makes the dial possible in the first place. I call it the check-in. Before I react from any of these traits, I check in. I ask myself one question. Am I coming from ego or old patterns, or do I actually really want this? If I'm going cold and self-reliant because I don't want to ask for help, I check in. Do I actually really need help right now? If yes, then I ask myself, what would love do? Love would connect. It would ask. It would let people in. If I'm reading someone so hard and I notice myself about to say, I knew it, that's when I check in. Is this actually what's needed right now? Or is this my ego wanting to be right? If I'm locked into zombie mode and I'm pursuing a goal and going cold to the people around me, I check in. Is this intensity necessary right now? Or can I turn it down and be present? It shows up in perfectionism too. If people are coming over and I'm scrubbing the counter for the 3rd time in a row, or if I'm rewriting a caption 5 times before I post it, I check in. Is this actually necessary right now? Or am I acting from an old pattern about needing everything to look a certain way so nobody has anything to criticize? Most of the time, the honest answer is, it's good enough. I can put it down. That question, is this really necessary right now, is the whole practice. It's you stepping outside of the room these traits live in. The traits are still there. You're just not stuck inside them anymore. Think of it like a trap door. You built the room and you can walk out of the room anytime you choose. You were never the room. And I want to say this clearly because this matters more than anything else in this video. Don't judge yourself for any of this. Not the intensity, not the distance you put between yourself and other people, not the years it took for you to see any of this. You built exactly what you needed to survive. Now you get to choose what runs on autopilot and what you run on purpose. You are not broken. You are not too much and you are not damaged. You're carrying around a set of tools you built without ever being taught how to use them consciously. Once you can see them clearly, you get to decide when they run instead of them deciding for you. That's what psychological freedom actually looks like. If this describes you, I'd love to know which one of these hit the hardest for you. Drop a comment below. And if you want more of this, to find and transform the real patterns running your life underneath the surface, subscribe, because that's exactly what we do here every week. We make the unconscious conscious so you can create your life by conscious design. Thank you for being here.